So chapter 1, section 6, we're looking at graphs and mappings. Okay, so we're kind of building off of what we've learned about relations, inputs, outputs, domains, ranges. That's kind of what we're building off of it now with graphs and mappings. Okay, so learning target today is that you can express a relation as a graph and mapping. We've already expressed them in a table. Now we're doing graphs and mapping. Okay, so to review, what is a relation? Well, it's a set of ordered pairs, right? What is an ordered pair? It's your x and y. That's an ordered pair. What is your x? Well, your x is your inputs. Y is your outputs. Okay, so that's all review stuff. This down here is new, but you probably already know what this stuff is. Okay, so what is my x coordinate on a graph? What does the x coordinate tell me? The x coordinate tells me my horizontal placement. So if I'm looking at my graph, horizontal is left to right, right? So horizontal is left to right. So I'll make a little note of that up here. Horizontal equals left to right. And my y coordinate tells me my vertical placement, okay? So vertical placement is going to be up and down. So x coordinate tells me how far left or how far right. The y coordinate tells me how far up or how far down. So vertical equals up, down. All right. So let's say I have a point. Let's just say I'll just plot a point on this graph actually. Let's say I plot a point. Say I go over 1, 2, and I go up 3. So I go over 2, up 3. So I have a point there. So the horizontal placement, my x coordinate, well, if I start here, I start at the origin. The origin is 0, 0. That's a little bit of review. The origin 0, 0. I go over 2. So horizontally, I move 2 units. All right. So I move 2 to the right. So my x coordinate here is going to be 2. Okay. So I moved 2 to the right. Y coordinate, well, how far up did I move? Well, I went over 2 and I went up 1, 2, 3. So I went up 3. And there is my ordered pair. Horizontal placement, vertical placement. Let's say I throw another point on here. Let's say I go, let's say I plot a point right in here. I want to know what is that ordered pair? What's the x coordinate? What's the y coordinate? Well, I go to the left now, 1, 2, 3. So this way's negative, this way's positive. I went left 3, so I went negative 3. And then I went down 1, 2, 3. So I'm going down, up is positive, down is negative. And there is that ordered pair. So horizontal placement, I went left 3, vertical placement, down 3. Okay, so that's just a little bit, that's your graphing. Okay. Mapping now. So this is representing points with graphs. Now representing with mapping. What is a mapping? A mapping shows the relationship between your domain and range. Okay, it shows the inputs and their outputs. It shows you, where does that input go, and I'll show you what I mean by that. So if I have a set here, I have 2 ordered pairs. I have 1 and 2 and 2 and 4. If my input is 1, my output is 2. If my input is 2, my output is 4. Okay, so a mapping is going to show that relationship. It's going to tell me where does my input go. So if I have input of 1, what is my output? It's 2. So all I'm doing for a mapping is I'm just showing where are these inputs going. Okay, so that 1 is going to go to 2. 2, if I plug in 2, what is my output? Where does that 2 go to? If I plug in 2, the output is 4. So I'm just going to draw a little arrow there. So if I plug in 2, I get 4. I plug in 1, I get 2. Okay, so that's a mapping. It's not too bad actually. All right, so we got some examples on the back to work with now. And I want to express the following relations as a mapping and a graph. Okay, so mapping and a graph. So I'm going to do the graphs first on both of these. So number 1, I have 4 ordered pairs, right? I have -1, 0, 0, 2, 1, 3, and 2, 4. So if I want to graph them, remember, x's are my horizontal placement. Y's are my vertical placement. So if I plot this first point, -1, 0. I start at the origin, okay? I move left 1 because that's my horizontal placement. And I have 0, so I'm not moving up, I'm not moving down, I'm just making a point right there. That's -1, 0. Now I have 0, 2. Horizontal placement, I'm not moving, it's 0, right? But I have 2, so I'm going to move up 2. I'm going to move up 1, I move up 2. There's a point there. 1, 3. Well, I start at the origin. I want to move 1 to the right because it's positive. And I'm going to move up 3. Vertical placement says go up 3. So I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3. Point there. The last point here, I have 2, 4. So start at the origin. I move over 1, 2. And I'm going to move up 4. So I move up 1, move up 2, move up 3, move up 4. And now I've plotted all my points. So this is representing the relation on a graph. Plot those points and you're all set. And now for my mapping. Okay, so my mapping it's showing my relationship between domains and ranges, okay? So my domain here, you got to know what the domain is. Domain are your x values. So -1, 0, 1, 2. I'm going to write them in numerical order. So -1, 0, 1, 2. And then my ranges. So range, I have 0, I have 2, I have 3, and I have 4. So I have 0, 2, 3, 4. And I want to show the relationship between those inputs and outputs. So if I plug in -1, where does -1 go to? Well, -1 goes to 0, right? Boom. Where does 0 go to? 0 goes to 2. I plug in 0, I get 2. It's going right across. I plug in 1, I get 3. Look at that. Again, straight across. I plug in 2, I get 4. So where does 2 go to? Well, 2 goes to 4. Input to output, input to output. That's what we're doing here. Now, it's not always going to be this clean looking. Sometimes your arrows and your lines will crisscross. These ones just kind of worked out like this for us. Okay, maybe the next one will be a little bit different. So number 2, I'm going to plot these points first. Again, I'm going to worry about the graphs. So I'm starting at the origin. X placement says go left 3. So I'm going 1, 2, 3. I'm going up 1. So I'm making a point there. -2. So I start at the origin. I go left 2. 1, 2. Vertical placement, I'm going up 1. I got a point there. 0, 2. I'm starting at the origin. X, I don't move. 2. I'm going up 2. So I'm going 1, 2. I'm all set there. And my last point, I have 1, -1. Start at the origin. 1 to the right and 1 down. I have a point there. So I've represented this relation as a graph. All right. Now for the mapping. What's my domain? I need to list all of the numbers in my domain. Look, I got it. It's all in order for you again. -3, -2, 0, 1. Don't even got to think about it. So I'm going to write it -2, 0, and 1. All right. It's not always going to work out that way. Try to keep these in order from lowest to highest. This just kind of worked out this way too. You don't have to really shuffle them around too much. For my range. So my range, I have, what are my y values? Looks like I have 1, I have 1, I have 2, and I have -1. So I'm only going to list the 1 time, right? When you're doing range, you know, if everything goes to 2, if I have 5, 2, 4, 2, 3, 2, I'm only listing for my range 2 1 time. Here, I have 1, so I'm just listing it once. I have -1, 2. So I'm going to do -1 first. I'm going to list 1 right there. I'm going to list 2 there. So this is my range, right? So -1, 1, 2. That's the range. So where does my -3 go? If I plug -3 in, I get 1. So input to output. So the -3 goes here, right? -2. Where does -2 go to? -2, I plug in -2, I get 1. So that's going straight across. I plug in 0. 0 goes to 2, right? So dropping it down here. So I plug in 0, I get 2. And if I plug in 1, I get -1. So input to output, this 1, it's going to go up here. It's going to crisscross these lines. It's not a big deal, but you got to make sure you do that. So 1 goes to -1. That is expressing relations as mappings and graphs, okay? So we're kind of building off of the domains and ranges that we learned the other day.